Oh yeah, no cell phones. Just kidding. Okay, the landmark is going to be the gastroc here, right? And the base of the fifth. Base of the fifth. Okay? So if we're looking at splaying, you guys will see it nicely. So if she were to step down on it, okay, so there's dorsiflexion. When she steps down, that's all it is. Right? Can you guys see that from there, kind of? Okay. So we got that, but if we go beyond the base of the fifth, then you got to splay the foot. That's it. Okay, simple as pie. If anyone's made pie, it makes no sense because pie's not simple. Okay, which one we take?
General.
Okay, hide one. That's not really hide. Okay, so these are heel and lace pads. You get that 90. So heel and lace pads go on there. They're anti-friction pads, right? So you're going to have potential lace bite here in the front, and we could have friction and a blister in the back of the heel. So we put those on there to prevent that from occurring. Okay, we need the area that we're going to kind of tape into. So sometimes this is the hardest part. I can get you to move that guy away. This is another cheap way to practice heel locks, right? So there's one. Okay, when you put the pre-wrap on, this doesn't matter. Right? You can rip it, doesn't matter. You don't want you don't want a heavy thickness of pre-wrap. You just want a thin layer of it. And there's going to be an angle that we're looking at here as well. If you're having difficulty, overlap by a half, lay that one down, lay this one down. Okay? Overlap by a half. Okay, it's not very exciting yet. We're having fun though. Okay, so we're just above lateral malleolus, medial malleolus. Okay, so we get through there. Now what I do, I want to have my distal anchor. Right on that base of the fifth, not too far past it at all. If I'm going to splay it, it's going to come in there and push and lay that down. Okay? So we're good there. So that we have a really big proximal anchor and we got a small distal anchor. You will notice when you do these, your angle's going up here at the beginning, and as you get down here, more of a cylinder, almost straight across, then it starts to point down. And that's fine, there's absolutely no problem with that, that's the way it's supposed to be. So tape's got to be down there smooth. When we get to this point, there's going to be a little bit of buckling. Okay? Yeah. Then this will happen if they don't keep it at 90 degrees. Not my ankle. Okay, so we're going to have proximal anchor, distal anchor, right? These are all Gibney strips. Don't get caught up on the words. They're also closing strips, the same thing. When we get to the calcaneus, it becomes a calcaneal strip, right? So they all have names. We got an anchor here. We got a foundation to tape to. We got another anchor through here. We got the calcaneal strip. When we do that, we're pulling it forward, and we're going to pull the calcaneus forward a little bit. We're already in a closed pack dorsiflex position, so the calcaneus is going to be pulled forward and locked into that position. So it's not going to move all that much. Okay, we're going to assume that it's an inversion ankle sprain, so she's sprained the outside. Right, so we're going to start up here, and our tape does not go beyond our anchors. It makes no sense to have string or a rope beyond an anchor on a boat. So I'm not liking that. These go right underneath the calcaneus. Okay, now under here we got a nice big window. That's a great spot for a tape cut. I don't want a tape cut. She doesn't want a tape cut. So I've closed that window off. Okay. And if you look at the angle here, we're still ending going high. So this is just the closing strip. All of this stuff is now completed. Okay, now the fun stuff. For my heel lock, I start at this point because this is how I know where to get my angle from. So eventually you'll get it. So from here, lateral malleolus, behind, under the calcaneus, over top. I've now just closed everything off. Under the calcaneus, behind the calcaneus. There's one full heel lock, and we're going to do 2 of them because I haven't done my figure 8. So make sure that everything is in there snug. These wrinkles aren't huge because we have a foundation underneath it. They're not going to cause any problems. If you do that stuff first and you push it up against the skin, we're going to have some issues. So the foundation is really important, and it's got to be very smooth. So if you are doing a heel lock, and say you force the tape a little bit, and you're going to do one of those, right? Don't worry, I'll give you guys one too. Right? You're going to do something like that. If it's in the heel lock, it's not the end of the world, but we don't want it to be there because it's just not aesthetically pleasing. They're going to assume that you don't know how you're taping, right? But is it going to be functional? Absolutely, right? But you do get graded on neatness as well, so we do want it to be a pretty tape job. Does that make sense? So if you fight the tape, then you're going to have some issues with it, right? So if we're going through it, you should be able to do one full ankle. You should be able to get 2 ankle tape jobs out of one roll of tape, just depending on how much you want to practice. If you want, at times, I'll just come up and do half heel locks for certain ones too. So that's just a quick half heel lock. You're pulling it into eversion from an inversion ankle sprain. Okay, the only difference, so that's basically your tape job. Okay. The only difference between an inversion tape job and an eversion tape job is the way that you do the stirrups, which go up. Okay, the stirrups are going to also help to close back that calcaneus. We got a dorsiflexed here on the subtalar joint. We're going to bring the calcaneus forward with those calcaneal strips, or strips rather, and then the stirrups themselves are going to go this way. So we got strips going everywhere. Okay, I think in there they show a true basket weave. They've also proven that it's not as strong as they were saying. It doesn't matter, the tape is adhesive, it'll do its thing. Okay? So if you're going to do the an eversion tape job, we don't want to pull it into inversion because that's going to be risk of injury because that's a more common tape job. So what I did was I take the tape, sticky side out, measure it, sticky side down now, right underneath the calcaneus, and I pull up equally on both sides. Any battery? No? Okay, so just pull it equally on both sides, right? So it's going to be more of a neutral tape job. It takes a little bit more time to do it, but it's not bad. For today, if you want, you can practice either one. It doesn't matter. You can do one of each. It's just whatever you want to practice. So if you want to just start from here and whip it underneath, that's fine. Make sure, a very common mistake, and I'll tell you guys now so I don't have to tell individually, when we do the stirrups, it's a calcaneal stirrup. If I do the stirrup here and there, and we see it, right? That's going to be way too uncomfortable. It's going to resist some movement, which is what we kind of want with an ankle tape job, but it's going to be very uncomfortable for her because it's going too far into the arch. That calcaneal stirrup has to go right underneath the calcaneus because then it's not a calcaneal stirrup if it's not, right? So make sure it goes right underneath the calcaneus. We got 1.5 inches, 2 inches of space there to do it, even with not a really big foot, so it can be done. Okay. Very important too. Now when we remove it, MNTA sponsor. No, sorry. Okay, so we got this. Down the medial side, behind the malleolus into the arch, right? If you're leaving this on for them and they're going to go home, make sure that they have that, okay? So now we'll tell them where they have to cut it, okay? Now the bad part is that we did tape to the skin. She hasn't worked hard enough. Have you been taped before?
Not my ankle, my foot.
Okay. So we got to have tension on the tape on both sides. If you do it quickly enough, it won't matter because you will have it. Okay, so the tape is going to be through there. Behind the malleolus, so there's no bone. And there. It comes off super easy. You don't have to remove each piece of tape. And if you look, we didn't cut her. It's all good. When we practice, you don't need to use heel and lace pads. I didn't make you guys go buy them, right? But they will be at the exam when you guys get tested on it, and they will be prepped. That's just skin lube. Allows it to stick, and it gives a little more, we'll clean that up after. A little more flexibility, that stuff. It's not going to rub, it's not going to create a whole lot of friction in there, right? So in through here, when you remove this too, you can take a look at it. You can remove most of the pre-wrap and take a look and see if there's any windows. You look through the lights and see there's a little window spot there that could be, but it's not going to be a true window, right? And it's right there, right where there's very little tape, right where the heel locks are. So if I don't make sure that that stuff's all sealed up before I put my heel locks on, we got a window that's going to cause a tape cut or a blister. Okay, so you want to make sure that you have all those. There should be no light, clear light going through there. Okay? Questions on that, or do you want me to do a quick one again?
Let's see it again.
This might even take some of this stuff.